Today's material is a drafted commentary piece, analyzing the controversy surrounding Candace Owens, focusing on her stance regarding the Charlie Kirk murder trial, her rift with former allies like Brandon Tatum, and allegations of historical anti-Semitism. Unifying the narrative through a consistent theme of evidence versus fabrication will elevate the overall impact and cohesion of the piece.
Yeah, because right now, the weakness is that the draft jumps abruptly between these highly disparate elements without, a cohesive thread tying them together.
It really does. I mean, we move from Brandon Tatum's interpersonal conflict right into the defense team's lack of forensic material.
And then suddenly we're taking this deep historical dive regarding systemic blood libel and the Pharaoh's Egypt.
Right. It leaves the narrative feeling totally fractured. If we treat this script like a court, it feels like we are calling a dozen disconnected witnesses instead of presenting one unified theory of the case, How can we thread this needle?
Well, the suggestion here is to use the concept of evidence versus conspiracy as a central narrative spine that runs from the opening to the closing.
Okay, I like that. So, how would the listener actually execute that in the text?
So the listener can weave Tatum's specific points about the lack of forensic data directly into the broader historical claims about how baseless accusations are weaponized.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, as a concrete example, when introducing Tatum's quote,
the one where he says, "No one without lab access or forensic training can claim to have done a real investigation into Tyler Robinson's actions."
Exactly. That one. Use this as a direct modern parallel to the JTV segment's point later on. You can show how historical conspiracies, like the blood libel charges, share this exact same DNA of being fabricated entirely without material evidence.
That's a really sharp connection. Framing the entire piece around the historical weight of the JTV documentary's argument could give the earlier, more gossip-heavy sections much-needed gravity.
Right. It grounds the whole thing. It tells the reader that, we're looking at a pattern of behavior, not just a bunch of random events.
Which is so important for keeping the reader on track. But speaking of those gossip-heavy sections, we really need to talk about the tone.
Oh, definitely.
Calibrating the tone to match the severity of the subject matter ensures the argument maintains its persuasive credibility and editorial authority.
Because the weakness here is that there is a severe tonal whiplash throughout the submission.
It's intense.
Yeah, it pivots so jarringly from discussing grave, heavy matters like Owens allegedly aiding a murder suspect's defense and perpetuating deep-seated anti-Semitism to launching into petty, lighthearted insults.
Right, like the stuff about the palm tree dresses and the shoulder pads.
Yeah, and mocking a Spain vacation with Carrie. I mean, it completely undermines the credibility of the serious allegations.
It feels like we are abruptly switching the channel between a true crime documentary and a reality TV reunion show.
That's exactly what it feels like. What if we looked at it from the perspective of an undecided reader?
Okay, yeah.
Is there a risk that focusing on fashion choices might cause them to overlook the actual legal and moral arguments being presented?
Oh, 100%. If I'm reading about someone aiding a murder suspect, and in the next breath the author is mocking their outfit, I'm going to question the author's objectivity.
Exactly. So the suggestion is to compartmentalize or entirely remove the ad hominem gossip to prevent it from undercutting the deeply serious ethical and legal questions being raised.
Elevate the tone to match the stakes of the murder trial and the defamation suit.
Right. As a concrete example, just excise the tangent about Owens being unable to dress herself or the palm tree tits hashtag. Just get rid of it entirely.
And instead, we could let her refusal to debate Andrew Wilson for $160,000 stand on its own, right?
Yes. Let that stand as a stark professional contrast to her claims of welcoming discovery. It's a much stronger point.
And for the emotional side of things, instead of relying on snark about Instagram vacation photos, let Brandon Tatum's genuine moral conflict about cutting ties with a friend doing egregious things carry the emotional weight.
That is so much more impactful. It keeps the focus on the actual tangible harm and the real stakes involved.
Speaking of real stakes, that leads perfectly into our next major point. Grounding the critique in the immediate, concrete stakes of the ongoing legal battles will make the argument significantly more robust and urgent.
Right, because right now, the weakness is that the text relies heavily on emotional appeals to defend Erica Kirk's character.
Like emphasizing how she cried at the funeral.
Exactly. Or how Charlie was the smartest guy in the movement,
while completely glossing over the specific mechanics of the impending legal reckoning that Owens faces.
Which is a problem because defending a subject via emotional validation is structurally weaker than relying on procedural facts.
It really is.
The material makes a strong case for Erica's innocence by highlighting her visible grief, but I wonder if relying on an emotional defense leaves the argument vulnerable to critics who already distrust her.
That makes total sense. I mean, conspiracy theorists don't care about tears, you know? Building on that point, what if we let the courtroom do the talking?
I love that phrase, let the courtroom do the talking.
Yeah. If we pivot the focus to the upcoming defamation motion on the 27th, the argument transforms from a defensive character into an undeniable timeline of consequences.
So the suggestion is to shift the focus from defending Erica's emotional state to highlighting the procedural realities that Owens is about to face. Use the established legal timeline to create natural narrative tension and drive the point home.
Precisely. For a concrete example, emphasize the upcoming pretrial hearing on the 27th for the defamation case brought by the Macrons.
Okay, and contrast Owens' internet bravado and her dismissal of Erica's charities with the concrete legal requirement of impending discovery.
Right, because you can't just spin a subpoena, all right? You have to show up and produce evidence.
Exactly. And the listener could use the fact that Tyler Robinson's highly paid defense team hasn't used any of Owens' evidence as the ultimate proof of its illegitimacy, rather than just arguing that Erica is a regular, sweet person.
That is the silver bullet right there. If her evidence was real, defense attorneys fighting for a client's life would absolutely be using it.
They'd be all over it.
Exactly. The fact that they aren't is undeniable procedural proof that the internet theories hold no weight.
It's just such a stronger argumentative anchor.
It really is.
Well, this has been an incredibly productive breakdown. To quickly recap for our listener, the three main takeaways are, first, unify the narrative around the theme of evidence versus conspiracy.
Right?
Second, elevate the tone by removing the petty gossip. And third, anchor the core argument in concrete legal stakes rather than emotional appeals.
So for actionable steps, the listeners should go back to the draft and really structure everything around that evidence versus conspiracy framework.
Yeah, literally categorize paragraphs to see if they fit.
Exactly. And then ruthlessly cut the fashion and vacation snark. Just take it out entirely.
It'll make a huge difference.
It will. And finally, bring the legal reality of the pre-trial hearing and the defense team's actions right to the forefront, replacing those emotional defenses of Erica.
Spot on. We warmly invite the listener to submit their revised work back in for another round of constructive feedback. Thanks for tuning in to The Critique.